Thank you and welcome to the show today. The topic today is a revisit, in a real sense, of some of the things that we've been talking about on this program. And the topic is Help Me, I'm Coming Home. It is an effort on our part to deal with the problems that individuals who have offended against society are now coming back into society, and the whole question of readjustment. And so the essence of what we will talk about will come from Pastor KWalker. And of course, Pastor Walker, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Dr. Haney, thank you for having me again this morning, and it's my pleasure to be here.
And to tell you how delighted we are to have you here, Pastor Walker. And I think, as we predicted, it would be sort of a rough and bumpy start.
Oh, yes.
But primarily, you've given us so much excellent information, and what we'd like to do is to simply build upon that this morning by talking about these individuals who you have already identified as individuals who do need help. Yes. And they're coming out of these institutions of correction without any kind of sufficient information in order to carry them through, and in a real sense, many of them end up back where they started. Absolutely. And so let's do that today, Pastor Walker. But before we do that, let's have you to give us a little information about your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in terms of making you, in a real sense, a specialist dealing with incarceration. And I say that because we've had an opportunity on so many occasions to talk to you about it, and you have some real information in reference to this question.
Okay. Well, Dr. Haney, I'm KWalker. I'm the pastor of the Hands of God Christian Church. I'm also the founder of the Hands of God Recovery Ministries here in Nashville. I was born and raised here in Nashville, educated in the public school systems, didn't graduate. Actually ended up getting a GED through OIC some years after I had attended the Navy and went to the Navy and got out of the Navy. Did a few college studies at Tennessee State, did some studies while I was incarcerated through Tribeca East Campus Prison Program. Don't have a degree in any particular field, but I got a measure of knowledge of a lot of different things, especially concerning important issues that we face in life on a daily basis. And that's why I'm here today. I spent time in active drug addiction for 17 years of my life. I've been in active recovery process for almost 20 years, and I'll be 20 years this year. And of course, I've worked in treatment field with the Samaritan Recovery Community. I worked there for 12 years. And of course, from there, with all the collective information and knowledge that I have been able to go forward and form this ministry called the Hands of God Recovery Ministries, in which we utilize to work with individuals that are coming out of the prison system, trying to make that adjustment back into society, as well as others that maybe may have not experienced crime or anything, but just homelessness or drug addiction and things like that, and trying to actually give them a new start in life. And that's what we're all about.
You know, Pastor Walker, I think on a number of occasions you've talked about individuals who, in a real sense, once they become incarcerated, we almost forget them. I think you said that we follow them up to the prison gate, and then after that you don't hear anything else about them. And so this is but now tell us and identify for us today the individuals that are incarcerated, which is to say, give us some kind of figures and some kind of information in reference to individuals who are incarcerated and the parole system that they have to face in order to come out so that they might be readjusted.
I haven't looked at the stats, the TDOC stats, the Tennessee Department of Corrections stats, in terms of how many individuals are currently incarcerated in our system. But I do know that there are a great number of individuals who are incarcerated that are facing the parole boards in an effort to be released back into society. I do understand and do know that 90-something% of those people incarcerated will re-enter society. And in the process of doing that, something has got to be put in place to help them to make that adjustment or that readjustment, what have you, back into society once they are released. And now they have to go through this system, in the parole system. Now, this parole system that we're dealing with here, now you take an individual that's been incarcerated for years, and now they come up, they're having an eligibility date for parole, and they face the parole board. Now, during that process of time, a lot of these individuals have completed programs that are inside the institution that's designed to help to rehabilitate them. But when they reach the parole board and they're sitting in that chair, and it seems like no one is interested on the other side of that table, being the parole hearing officers, as to what accomplishment these individuals have made. They're more interested and more focused on looking at the crime itself than looking at what this individual has done, because here's an individual apparently is eligible for release back into society. So what I would want to know, if I was a parole hearing officer, what have you done to develop yourself in a positive way that could say to me, I can release you back into society, rather than spending all of that time focusing up on the offense that an individual committed. I mean, once I commit the offense, Dr. Haney, the offense has been committed, you know.
And of course, we're getting ready, Pastor Walker, for our first commercial break, but I understand exactly what you're saying here is that these are individuals that are going to really be enter into society.
Yeah.
And our best shot is to try to find out how to bring them back. Of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. The topic is Help Me, I'm Coming Home. We're dealing with ex-offenders who are re-entering society and making the readjustment into the free world. And of course, we have with us to give us this information Pastor KWalker. And of course, Pastor Walker, let us simply, in a real sense, continue where we were when we had our commercial break by allowing you to talk about some of these individuals in the parole system and how they became incarcerated and et cetera.
You know, as I was saying, Dr. Haney, when you commit a crime, you're the criminal. And chances are there's a victim involved in the process. It could be a crime against a property. But in essence, you're the criminal, you commit the crime, there's a victim. But now, here it is, you're coming up for parole, and now the roles are being reversed on you. Now, in essence, in a lot of situations, the inmate is being victimized all over. Has been made to become the victim in a lot of situations in terms of when they go to the parole board and they're sitting there and they're trying to be released, they've done what they're supposed to do while they're in the system to rehabilitate themselves. And then the parole board, a lot of times, are not taking any note of what they've done to better themselves while they're in the system, to say to society that, yes, I have done a crime, I did it, I'm not denying it, I paid my debt to society, I'm sitting here, I'm going to parole out, I need an opportunity to come back into society. I don't need to be victimized. I don't need to be constantly reminded for the rest of my life of what I've done. You know, in other words, a lot of situations, you go in with a 5-year sentence, or 8-year sentence, or something like that. You're not really a hardened criminal in that sense, but now society is saying you've got a life sentence regardless if you got a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year sentence. The society is saying you've got a life sentence because for the rest of your life, people want to remember what you've done in your past and continue to penalize you for all those things. And people need an opportunity, Dr. Haney. People need a chance to make the adjustment back to society. You know, we'll say to the ex-offenders, and we'll say to society concerning the ex-offenders, I should say, that this person, he's no good, he's low down because he was in prison, he got out and he went back to prison. But nobody looks at a lot of times why they went back to prison. You know, what was the obstacles that was in front of me that kept me, that made me go back to that old way of thinking. You know, because if I develop myself, if I'm doing something, then I need to get out and I need somebody to allow me the opportunity to step in a position to practice some of the stuff that I've learned. You know, not just keep me held bondage to what I did in my past. You know, and that's how that thing working now.
Well, it seems to me that the parole board, is there some kind of political motive in terms of how they operate? Or is there a fear on in terms of if they allow those individuals who have served their time and who have done everything necessary in order to meet all of the qualifications? It seems to me that ought to be sort of an automatic kind of situation because of the way the individual has reached the parole board.
Dr. Haney, it's almost like the individual that looked like he won't come back is the one that has the hardest chance of getting out. The individual that looks like he'll return is the one that readily makes parole because chances are they'll return. But I don't know if it's money motivated, politically motivated. I don't know what it is. I'm just saying that's what it looks like. That may not be what it is, but it gives that appearance that the guy that says that I've got it all together, I've done this, I've got this under my belt, I got that under my belt. I can't, in essence, come back into society and make a positive contribution to society. And these are the guys saying, well, okay, come back to see us in 2 years and we'll reconsider your case. But
even though within the system he has done everything. That it was necessary to do in order to get him to that particular point in terms of his discipline while he's been there, in terms of violations and et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
That's why he's there, because they believe that he might be able to get out.
Absolutely. And my thing is, give the guy an opportunity, give him a chance to put into practice what he said he has accomplished while he's in there. You know, give him the opportunity.
But now, is there a possibility that there might be an attitude in which they believe that crime is on the increase everywhere, okay?
Yeah.
And that they believe that perhaps if they are, quote, too lenient on these individuals by allowing more to get out than getting out, that they will be accused of whatever, of contributing really to crime problems. Would that be some kind of rationalization behind what we're talking about? That's what we're looking for.
I mean, it could possibly be rationalization, but the reality of it is, regardless, if an individual's got a determinate sentence, at some point he's going to expire that sentence. Whether you let him out on parole or he expires that sentence, he's coming up out of there, regardless. I've got a guy in my program now that expired a sentence, did 30 calendar years on the sentence. He expired the sentence. So regardless, he's coming out. But you take a guy, he's developing himself, give him an opportunity. And I need people to understand when I say turn the criminal into the victim, in the sense that when they come out, all these roadblocks, all these obstacles, you're not giving opportunities for them to better themselves, to move forward in life. They got families, you know, that are waiting for them, and they need their families. They need the family support, and they need all of that. But there's a lack of communication on, as far as I'm concerned, but between the parole hearing officer, the parole board that paroles these individuals back into society, and the parole officers that are required or assigned to supervise these individuals once they come back into society. There's a problem there when you're dealing with parole officers that don't care. And they don't care, as indicated by the fact that they're not following up, they're not visiting the places these people staying at. You know, they're not looking for out for their best good in terms of. In other words, let me say it to you like this. People that come into my program, they'll make a 90-day commitment to come into my program while they're incarcerated. They'll get out, and the parole officer will allow them to move on to somewhere else that is not even on the approved list of places for this individual to parole out to. Now, that's setting an individual up to fail. Now, you know, if an individual paroles out into a structured program that's designed to help them to get their life together from A to Z, and then you allow them 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month later to leave that program because they come up with an idea, I mean, you're victimizing that individual, and you're saying to that person, I don't care about you, because you know, and when they leave, and I've seen it happen over and over and over again, Dr. Haney, they'll come in and they're allowed to do that like that, and they end right back up in the prison system, and it's because the parole officers are not on top of their job as well as they should be. And I know, you know, there's a lot of them not gonna like what I just said, but I don't care, because the reality, truth is truth, and truth stands alone. You might have to prop a lie up, Dr. Haney, but truth will stand by itself. And if people would get on their job and do what they're supposed to do, require that these people hold up to their commitments that they're making when they're coming out, they will lessen the chances of them becoming reincarcerated again, because they're in a structured environment, in a structured program, they're doing what they're supposed to do. So, you know, that's what's going on.
Okay.
And I think if there needs to be a look at the system. Okay. There needs to be a look at the parole system. There needs to be a look at the parole when they get out, the supervision part of the system and everything like that. Because
let us hold it right here, Pastor, and we're going to take this final commercial break. Okay. And then we'll come back and allow you to continue this. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Thank you, and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. Help Me, I'm Coming Home, readjustments of ex-offenders to the free world. And of course, Pastor KWalker has given us some excellent information in reference to that. And now, of course, Pastor Walker, what we'd like for you to do is to identify some of these issues that sort of keep these individuals from being able to become involved in society and et cetera. And I think that if we can do that over this segment, then we can call it an end for an excellent show, I believe, today.
All right. Well, one of the things, and I had mentioned this on another show that we had done together, Dr. Haney, and that was the fact that individuals are being released from state custody and incarceration, I should make it clear, and they don't have an identification. They release people out. In a lot of situations, I have had guys come into my program They will release them from a prison somewhere in West Tennessee or wherever, and they'll put them on the bus, no identification whatsoever. They got a parole certificate in their hand and whatever personal belongings they may have, and they'll put them on the bus. They won't inform us that they're on their way, that they've been released or anything, and they'll send a lot of these people to Nashville that have never lived in Nashville or what have you, and then they'll get to the bus station and they're just lost. We don't know they're coming. They're here. They don't know what to do. Then they don't have any identification. They're in a bad situation right there. And that's when I say victim. And people say, Dr. Haney, well, he's just he's soft on crime. He's been to prison. He's been through that. I'm not soft on crime. You know, I think for an individual commits a crime, he ought to pay the penalty for the crime. I mean, I did it. I was a crook. I did crimes. I paid the penalty for it. I've overcome all of that. I triumphed over all that stuff. And now it's important that people understand that individuals need an opportunity. People need a chance. People need a chance to overcome their past failures, their past faults, and make that adjustment back into society. Because you got to realize, regardless of the crime that the individual committed, they still got some people that love them. Society as a whole might not love them, but they got some family members that do love them. They got some friends that still love them and that are willing to help them make that adjustment. The problem is they get out with no IDs, and then you go to a company trying to get a job, and then you got somebody with a shady past themselves or a shady present for that matter, and then they saying, well, we got to do a background check on you, and they got to run back, and because you got something in your background, they're going to penalize you for that in terms of saying, well, since you committed a crime in 1988, now you can't feed your children in 2006. What kind of sense does that make? You know, my children are hungry. They need to eat just like anybody else's children. So why can't I be afforded the opportunity to contribute to society? But at the same time, you penalize me, you turn me into a victim, and then when in frustration of trying to find a job, trying to fit back into society, when I get frustrated and revert back to my old ways because I have to live, I have to wear clothes, I have to eat, you know, I have to provide for my family. So when I go back, when I try your way, and you want to accept me when I'm trying it your way, then I go back to my way. Now you want to criticize and condemn me for falling into the trap that you dug and set for me. What am I supposed to do in a situation like that? It's hard out here for people that have a criminal past to make that adjustment back in society. And society needs to realize that. And we need to stop saying victim, 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 victim. What about the ones that suffer from the crime? Well, I have sympathy for the ones that suffer from the crime. No ifs and buts about that. But you take the individuals that committed the crime, they went through this the justice system. They stood before a judge. The DA stated his case, made his claim. The judge, the jury went forth. They sentenced that person. They convicted him. They sentenced him. That person went into the system. That person did their time. They have satisfied the judgment of society that society placed upon them. Now they're ready to come back into society. Then why do I get a life sentence for a 2-year conviction? Why is it that I can't vote? Why is it that I got to come out here and struggle trying to get identification? I got to come out here struggle trying to get a job, you know, just to be able to do all the necessary things or all the essential things that everybody in a free world society have been afforded the right to do. Why can't I have that? You know, just because I committed a crime one time doesn't mean, Dr. Haney, that I'm going to come out and do the same thing over again. But you increase my chances of recommitting or reoffending when you consistently put roadblocks and stumbling blocks in my pathway, when you systematically set me up to fail.
And each time you fail, you go back into the system and you cost the government, the state, more money, because now they have to, you can't be a taxpayer or anything, and you're just there, warehoused again. Well, now, would it make sense for the state to start thinking in terms of using some of these individuals, that is, create some special kinds of programs for them so that they might be able to use the manpower, whatever they were doing when they were incarcerated. You know, they got some kind of job doing now. If they were working in inventory and et cetera while they were incarcerated, then the state ought to try to create a situation so that they could keep them in inventory while they're out now and pay them and some money for what they're doing, because state, not because it's giving them anything, but because they're fulfilling a needed service to the state. I mean, does that make sense?
I mean, that would be a good thing, but the only way it will work is if the state really cared. but by the fact that the state is not really caring about the individual that's coming out of the prison system, you know, we can throw the political smoke screens all we want to and pretend or make believe that we care, but in reality, look at the things that are in place. Look at the structure. Look at the systems that are in place. The mouth will say we care, but the systems that are in place is indicative of the fact that we don't care. We don't care what happens to you. You get out. You know, if you find a job, you're fine. When if you don't, so what? You know what I'm saying? And there's companies out here that, you know, give people an opportunity. I mean, come on, don't continue to penalize people. Help these people to contribute to society. And you know, because we sit up, like you said, Dr. Haney, we sit up. It costs the state of Tennessee money to incarcerate people, and there are a lot of people that are incarcerated now that really don't need to be incarcerated. They could be out here contributing to society if society will remove some of these roadblocks out of the way and some of these stumbling blocks, some of these obstacles, and allow these people to come out and become productive members of our society. That's what it's all about. It's about helping people. You know, the families need to help. You know, churches need to get involved and help. I mean, Chief Ron Surpass, he always calling out to the church community, shows up at the IMF and wants the community help, you know, help the crime and all that stuff. But yet when you call them, they don't respond and stuff like that. You know, I had people try to rob a few of the people in my recovery ministry house, called the police. They pointed out the guys, but because they found out these guys came out of prison, they checking their ID cards, man. I mean, that's sickening right there, man. You know, that's enough, man, to make you want to fight right there. You call somebody to report a crime against you, and then they taking your ID, sitting in the police car and running a record check on you, man. You know what I'm saying? And if the police department, they don't like it, I got to report in the officer's name that did it. So, you know, the thing is, Dr. Haney, people need to be afforded an opportunity to make that adjustment back into society. And if you're not gonna allow me to make that adjustment back into society, then don't stand up on the bandwagon and start criticizing and condemning me when I fail at a system that you sit in place that's designed to make me fail. Help me. I'm coming home. I'm coming out of this prison system, and I need some help. I need the churches to step up. I need civic organization to step up. I need folks to step up, private citizens. I need them to step up and to help these individuals. You know, I mean, people need, like I said, ID, they need clothes. I mean, people are getting out with nothing. Absolutely.
Been there 10, 12 years and then get out. The only thing they've got is a certificate saying that they've been there.
That's it.
And on a bus ticket.
And once they see the parole off, they don't even have the certificate no more because they turn that in.
He takes that from them, and so there they are out after 15, 10, 5, 2, or whatever, even to go there for 10 months, 5 months. And then to come out under those kind of situations would be quite difficult.
Yeah.
But I would imagine if you've been there for 8 or 10, 12 years and then have to come out under those kind of, it's sort of a frightening kind of thing,
Absolutely.
I would imagine.
You come out with nothing, and it's a shame. It's just a shame, and society needs to understand that it's more to the individual because, like I said, Dr. Haney, all the time, we follow the individual from the crime scene through the court system all the way through the doors of the penitentiary, and then we forget about them, not realizing that one day they're coming home, and they could be your neighbor. So how do you want that individual to return back into society? Help the individual, and you can help a family in a whole lot of other situations.
And I guess, Pastor Walker, the only thing we can say is that perhaps people just don't care. But the thing about it, I think that people do care.
Yeah, there are some
and I think people need to be informed. And I think what you've done here, you've made us aware. We've become very, very conscious in terms of the kind of situations. And I think that we have to have that in order to be able to make any kind of move whatsoever. But I think that if people understand that we're dealing with our own family, because these individuals, I mean, if you were to take a survey, you would find that quite a number of us have individuals who are incarcerated.
Absolutely.
So these are our people. And of course, let me thank you, and let us encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you, and good morning.